All right, part two. Okay, this section's a little trickier, um, but still, it really boils down to what I was talking about in the last video, where dealing with polynomials, it really just comes down to understanding like terms. So again, they have to have the same variable and the same power. Okay, so 2x squared is different than 2x to the third because that exponent is different. Just like 2y squared is different than 2x squared because they have a different letter. So they gotta have the same letter and the same power. Okay, so and then this time we also get into subtracting, which subtracting is evil. So we don't deal with subtracting, we just make it addition, which I'll show you how to do that in a second. Also, man, my hair is amazing. I love it. Quarantine hair is the best. It's what I've missed all my life. So, down to the table. All right, let's finish up 12.2. I want to do example 4, and then I want to do one of the problems from the textbook, from that section. Okay, so let's start with example 4. So we've got 3p squared minus 1, and we are adding that to minus 3p squared minus 2p minus 4. Okay, so again, first step is to line up your coefficients, or line up your like terms. Okay, so I've got 3p, oh man, I'm gonna have to rewrite this. Okay, let's rewrite it. Okay, so we got 3p squared. And on the other side, we have minus 3p squared. So I'm going to put minus 3p squared. Okay. And then if I look, I have no p term, but I do have a p term over here. So I'm going to put a placeholder in. So again, back at it. So I added a 0 right here because there is no p term, but I need a p term for that side. So I added that 0 to help keep some confusion out of the way and make my stuff all lined up nice and neat. So now I'm going to do this minus 2p, okay? And now I'm on to my constants. We have a negative 1 and a negative 4, so I'm going to put negative 1 and negative 4. All right, and now let's switch to blue. So remember, we're adding all these together. So 3p squared, I have a positive 3p and a negative 3p. All right, my exponents are the same, my variables are the same, and these first numbers are the same, except one's negative. So these are just going to cancel out and be left with 0. All right, now I have a 0 and a negative 2p. Okay, so, well, 0 plus anything is whatever that thing is, so minus 2p. All right, and here we go, I'm combining. Don't think of subtracting. I have a negative 1 and a negative 4. So how many negatives do I have? I have 5 negatives. So my final answer is negative 2p minus 5. All right, let's do one more from this section and then go on to the other one, because the other one is essentially the same thing. I am going to jump to number, let's look for one that's ugly. Let's do number 9. Okay, so this is number 9 from the text. We've got, let's do it over here. So we have 2n to the third minus 2, and we are adding this to negative 2n to the third, nope, not to the third, squared, 2n squared, minus 3n minus 3. Okay, so there's my two polynomials I'm adding together. And look, we've got an n to the third and an n squared. These are not like terms, so I'm going to rewrite this bad boy just like I did in the last one. So I'm going to say 2n to the third. There is no n to the third from the orange one, so I'm not going to have anything below it. All right. So I do have an n squared for orange, but I don't have an n squared for purple, so I'm going to add a 0. And then we'll go to minus 2n squared for that side. All right, I have no regular n, but I do have a regular n with no exponent for orange. So I'm going to say another plus 0 for purple. And now I'm going to add minus 3n for orange. Now I'm on to my constants. We have a minus 2 for purple, and we have a minus 3 for orange. So everything's all nice and lined up, and so now we just have to combine our top and bottom. Okay, so 2n to the third. There is nothing below it, so it just drops down. 2n to the third. Negative 2n squared. It's a 0 above, so it just drops down. Negative 2n squared. 0 on top, nothing. And so the bottom number just drops down. Minus 3n. All right, and now we have a negative 2 and a negative 3. Remember, we're combining. We're not subtracting, we're combining. So negative 2 and a negative 3, I now have 5 negatives. And we're done. That is that answer. Okay, now let's move on to 12.3, which is subtracting polynomials, which we're not going to do because subtraction's evil. Okay, so let's look at example number 1. So example number 1 says we are going to take, where is it? X squared plus x plus 2. Okay, scratch that. I didn't read the whole problem. I'm just looking at the things. So it's saying we're subtracting x squared plus x plus 2 from 3x squared plus 3x plus 4. So we're subtracting this thing from the other one. So I want to have the number I'm subtracting from first. So let's write that down. So that's going to be 3x squared plus 3x plus 4. Okay? All right, so I'm subtracting the other one. So I am subtracting x squared plus x plus 2. Okay, so I said before, we're not actually going to do subtraction. Subtraction is terrible. We want to stick with addition. Addition is better. So in order to do that, what I do is I'm going to basically flip all of these signs. You can think of it as multiplying every one of these things by a -1 or just changing the sign, because that's all you're doing. So I'm going to basically distribute this negative sign across, but when I do that, this changes to plus. I'm going to change that to plus, and then I'm going to go through and change all of these signs. They're all positive, so I make it minus, 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 and I'm going to put parentheses just so we know that I have negatives for all those things. And now we just go back to what we did last section. Now we just lined it up and we combine stuff. Okay, so now I have a negative x squared. So I'm going to put negative x squared right there. I have a negative x, so I'm going to put negative x. I have a negative 2, so I'm going to put negative 2. And now look, this is exactly what we just did, which is why I said this section is just like last one. Okay. 3 and a -1. Let's add that 1 there. Let's add that 1 there. Okay, so we have 3 positives, 1 negative. I'm combining, so remember they cancel out, and we end up with 2x squared because I had more positives. I only took 1 away. All right, same deal. We have 3 positives, 1 negative, so this is going to be plus 2x. 4 positives, 2 negatives, so I'm going to end up with plus 2. And I'm done. I just subtracted. Okay, so again, the best way to do subtraction is to turn it into addition. All right, let's do example number 2. Okay, so we are going to subtract negative s squared minus 3s plus 2 from 5s squared plus 4s minus 3. So I'm going to write it backwards just because you don't have to. You know what? I'm going to write this one the way the book talks about it. And so what I'm going to do, I don't like that. No, we're going to continue the way I have it, the way I'm saying it. So we're going to subtract the first number from the second number. So I'm going to say 5s squared plus 4s, where is it, minus 3. All right, so there's my first term. That's the bigger number that I'm subtracting from. Okay, now I'm going to say minus, parentheses, and then we put that first thing. Minus s squared minus 3s plus 2. Okay, so again, I don't want to do subtraction. Subtraction is the worst, okay? Because then you end up with things like negative 3 minus 2. No, we want to combine. Adding is easier. So I change that to plus, and I change the signs of everything in here. So this negative s is going to become plus s. This negative 3s is going to be plus 3s. This positive 2 is going to become plus a negative 2, and I put parentheses around it. Okay, done. Well, not done, but first step done. Now I'm going to go back to stacking them up, line up my like terms, so I have a plus s squared, so I'm going to put s squared down there. Plus 3s, so I'm going to say plus 3s. Now I have plus a negative 2, so I'm going to say minus 2. Math is better with sound effects. Okay. Oh, man, 5s and s's, right? So I have 5s squared and 1s squared. Let's add the 1 there. So 5 plus 1, that gives me 6s squared. 4s plus 3s is going to give me 7s. We have a negative 2 and a negative 3. How many negatives do I have? I have negative 5, and I'm finished. Okay? So again, the main thing I want you to remember with this section is we don't want to subtract. When you subtract, you get weird situations that make things confusing, like a negative minus a negative. Well, a negative 3 minus negative 4 is technically adding. You're going to end up adding it makes your brain hurt. So instead, turn everything into addition, and then you just add the numbers. If you think of it like that, like you're combining things, hopefully there's work being done on the roof, and hopefully that's not too loud. I'll probably stop with that. But yeah, like I said, switch the whatever you're subtracting. The trick is what you're taking away, you change into, you flip the signs of. So with that, I'm going to upload this, and we are done for the week. Adios all.